Travel along, Catholic pilgrims, for 1 year as we read through St. Faustina's diary. Join me, Amy Thomas, each day for a short reading out of the diary which brought us a deeper understanding of Christ's divine mercy. Well, hello, Catholic pilgrims. It is day 123, and it is time to read from St. Faustina's diary. So again, today we are continuing on with her explaining how she wants her new congregation to function. And so, like I said yesterday, there's a tendency to maybe see these readings as not the most interesting in the world, but I think that there is a lot to get out of them. And today I really like what she has to say about work. And ironically, I have a lot to say about what she has to say about silence. So that is what we will focus on. Our readings today are from Notebook 2, Numbers 549 through 553. Work. As poor persons, the nuns themselves will do all the work in the convent. Each one should be glad when she is given some work which is humbling or which goes against her nature, as that will greatly help her interior formation. The superior will often change the sisters' duties and in this way help them to detach themselves completely from the little details to which women have a great attachment. Truly, I often find it amusing to see with my own eyes souls who have forsaken really great things only to attach themselves to fiddle-faddle, that is, trifles. Each sister, including even the superior, shall work in the kitchen for a month. Every one should take a turn at every chore which is to be done in the convent. And always, in everything, their intention should be pure, for every sort of mixed motive is displeasing to God. They should accuse themselves of all external transgressions and ask the superior for a penance. They should do this in a spirit of humility. They should love one another with a sublime love, with a pure love, seeing God's likeness in every sister. Love should be the special characteristic of this little community, so they must not close up their hearts, but embrace the whole world, rendering mercy to every soul through prayer, according to their calling. If we live in this spirit of mercy, we ourselves will obtain mercy. How great should each one's love for the church be? As a good child prays for the mother it loves, so also should every Christian soul pray for the church, its mother. What then should be said of us religious, who have especially committed ourselves to praying for the church? How great then is our apostolate, hidden though it be. All our little daily nothings will be placed at the feet of the Lord Jesus as a propitiatory offering for the world. And in order that our offering may be pleasing to God, it must be pure. And for it to be pure, the heart must be freed of all natural attachments, and all its affections must be directed towards the Creator, loving all creatures in Him and according to His will. And, acting thus, each with a zealous spirit will bring joy to the church. In addition to the vows, I see one rule as most important. Although all the rules are important, I put this one in first place, and it is silence. Truly, if this rule were to be observed strictly, I would not worry about the others. Women are very fond of talking, but the Holy Spirit does not speak to a soul that is distracted and garrulous. He speaks by His quiet inspirations to a soul that is recollected, to a soul that knows how to keep silence. If silence were strictly observed, there would not be any grumbling, bitterness, slandering, or gossip, and charity would not be tarnished. In a word, many wrongs would not be done. Silent lips are pure gold and bear witness to holiness within. But I want to speak immediately of a second rule, that is speech. Keeping silent when one ought to speak is an imperfection and sometimes even a sin, and so let all the sisters take part in recreation, and the superior should not dispense them from this except for a matter of great importance. Recreation is an opportunity for getting to know one another. Let each sister speak her mind in all simplicity for the edification of the others, and not in a spirit of superiority, nor, God forbid, in a quarrelsome manner, for that would not be in keeping with perfection and the spirit of our vocation, which should be especially characterized by love. Twice a day there will be a recreation of 1/2 hour, but if a sister breaks silence outside that time, she must accuse herself before the superior at once and ask for a penance, and the superior should punish these offenses with public penances, or else you will answer for this before the Lord. I really love what she has to say here about work. When I was younger, a teenager, my maternal grandfather told me, Amy, there's dignity in work, and don't ever be too big for your own britches to do good work. And don't be afraid to do work that you may feel is beneath you. He said that makes you a better person and it gives you character. And my grandfather, gosh, he was such a good worker. He was such a good example. He did just about every job you could possibly ever think of. He was a World War II vet in the Army. He served under Patton. He was a carpenter when he was young. He sheared sheep to make money for his family. And he worked about until he was, I think, 87, 88 years old. And he just told me never to be afraid to work. I have always remembered that conversation with him. And I've tried to apply it to my life as best as I can. You know, I have had jobs where I've been told to do different tasks that, you know, might seem beneath me. But I remembered his words, and he always said, if it's good work and honest work, then it teaches you something. And a lot of times it teaches you humility. And so I have taught my kids that as well. You know, don't be afraid to do hard work. Don't be afraid to do work that you may think is, you know, not for you because, you know, maybe you're being a little prideful. Do it anyway, and you will learn something from it. So I really love what she says here. And I think in a lot of ways we've gotten away from valuing work. We realize that work is important and everybody wants to make money. And that oftentimes is just the goal, is to either look like you have a really good job so that everybody is wowed by that, or to make a lot of money. But I really think that work is, you know, what we're made for. We're made to use our hands. We're made to use our minds and to serve others through our work, whether that be in the home or out of the home. And I think sometimes we've lost that. But the other thing I wanted to focus on was her talking about silence. Oh my goodness. I know we have talked about this before in an earlier podcast, but I think it bears repeating. You know, this is something that I utterly struggle with. I struggle with gossiping. I struggle with, you know, grumbling. I struggle with being charitable all the time. And it is so hard for me to hold my tongue a lot of the times. And I'm a talker, so, you know, I can tend to, you know, talk all day long and forget that sometimes it's best to just be quiet. And I think, especially in our day and age, you know, with the internet and social media, everybody feels like now is their chance to have a voice. And we've gotten so used to being able to just spout off something, and we quickly read something. Half the time we don't really take it in and digest it and really think about it. We just are reactionary. And when we're reactionary, oftentimes we say things that are snarky or rude or not true, because we don't take the time to really look into stuff. And like I said, I'm totally guilty of this. It's something that I really have to work on. And my family, we've been watching Little House on the Prairie episodes from the 1970s because there's not much out there these days that you can watch as a family. We used to watch the Andy Griffith Show because that was something else we could watch as a family. And there's something about that time when there wasn't all the distractions of technology and, you know, the internet and social media and phones in front of our faces and everything. There's something so appealing about that time. You know, people would sit on their front porches and just sit and think and just share like a Coke together, or just, you know, shell peas or knit or something. There was just moments of silence and solitude, and it just seems like at that time people were just more inclined to just sit and think and just ponder things and wonder and allow silence to kind of permeate their soul, and they weren't afraid of it. I think a lot of us are afraid of silence because it means we might be faced with our own thoughts, or we might be faced with our conscience, or we might be faced with God prodding us to do something, and we don't know if we want to do that. And so we just fill up our lives with talk, 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 noise, noise, noise. Even just reading a lot of stuff through social media, there's not silence there. It's just a bunch of noise. And so I think it's something that we have to really work on and just find times to just be still. I know one of my things is I get up every morning pretty early to pray so that, everybody is still asleep or my husband's already gone for work, and I can just sit in silence and just, kind of let my mind wander. And I invite God into that conversation. If he's got something he wants to say to me or something for me to reflect upon, I can do that because there's no music on, no TV, no phone. It's just me and my Magnificat and my prayer time. And it really does help me weed out my thoughts, kind of tease them out and, talk to God about this, or just tell him, I don't know where you're leading me here. I need some guidance. I need some direction. Can you help me? Or I feel like you're prodding me in this direction. Am I right? Is this true? And silence gives us that time just to kind of be and be settled and let God enter into our soul and talk to us. So very important thing to work on. Like I said, I totally struggle with this, and it's something that I have to consciously work on every single day. I cannot just let a day go by where I don't work on it, because I am a debater, so I want to get into the fray. I'm a talker, so I want to give my 2 cents. And so it's a struggle. It really is. And, I have to really ask God for lots of graces to hold my tongue a lot and just keep me silent for a little while, because it does me good. So that is all for today, Catholic Pilgrims. Tomorrow is day 124. And until then, live the faith boldly and travel well.